to see the lower back tattoo possibilities on you, dude.
When you spend all the money and invest into a beautiful patio, the last thing you want is an issue with the joint sand.
And this thing weighs 86 pounds, and there's nothing more annoying than having to replace a cracked paver while you're poly sanding. I can literally carry it like I'm carrying a bag of concrete. You can really see how well that settled that into the joint. So this is the tamper I was talking about. It's not a rubber. Fresh bag is what you want on the top of the joints. And from here on, they slope that way and down. The reason you start at the lowest point is if you start up top and then so you can see that water flowing down the joint there. Good morning, everyone. We are back on a job that we did last fall, but it was so late in the fall that it was too cold to do polymeric sand. So that's what we're here back here doing today. Here's the sand we're using. I used this all of last year and it worked excellent on every project I tried. So Techniseal Pro Series HP Next Gel. And we always go with black. And the reason being is exactly what you see here on this bag. They match the color of the sand of the pavers. Everything kind of meshes in. A black color makes the joints pop and makes the pavers stand out. This is one of my favorite jobs from last year. I just spent about 10-15 minutes blowing everything down. There was some leaves and stuff in the joints just from sitting over the winter. Ben's cleaning an area where there was some dirt washout onto the patio. So he's scraping it with a trowel and blowing the dirt out of the joints. Hey dude, having fun?
Almost done.
So like I said, there was some washout. Customer actually, this dirt wasn't here before, but the customer is actually having an in-ground pool put in. There was an above ground pool here. So he's got the guy that's doing the in-ground one, doing some site work too. He dug a big trench and put a drain in to hop off of our dry well right here. This is just a big hole filled with stone and fabric to help with water drainage. But I think we might end up having to put a small retaining wall here, a few blocks high, just to get that elevation right and to prevent any more washout onto the patio. Did mention that to the customer, and it's something we might do. So, but today we're just here to get the polymeric sand done. We're going into a really nice warm week. So today's the day. That is a gas fire pit, not wood. Customer had a propane tank installed up there. We trenched it down under the patio. Connects to this, And there's also a spot that pops up right there and over on the other side. He also has it connected to his house. So that was a lot of digging, a lot of prep work. Had to put sand in the trench, all that kind of stuff that's involved with putting gas lines in. This was a big project. This took us a while. A lot of little things to do, but we had a great time. Beautiful property. And believe it or not, all those stones on that stone wall came from this patio excavation, and we used them all to elevate that area so that he was able to put the propane tank up there. So very in-depth project. It's going to be nice to get the poly sand done and wrap everything up, and it's going to be even nicer when he's got the in-ground pool installed. But the pavers are nice and dry. Some of them were damp. Had to hit them with the leaf blower, and that solved the issue. So while Ben finishes cleaning up that spot over there, I'm gonna start sanding.
What's happening, everybody? I hope you're doing well. If you've been following along with this playlist and saw how we installed this patio, I appreciate your support and I hope you enjoyed the videos. Now we're off to the last part of the project, and that is polymeric sanding all the joints. Just like anything nowadays, there's tons of different manufacturers who make this kind of polymeric sand, but depending where you are in the country or in another country, the manufacturers are going to vary. So you're going to have to do some research and find out what's available close to you and which ones have the best reviews. But for me here in Massachusetts, we switched over to using this Techniseal polymeric sand 2 years ago now. Before we switched to Techniseal, I used Alliance polymeric sand products for probably a decade, like 10 years or so. And they went through a lot of changes themselves. If you're someone in the industry, you know Alliance. They're really popular for polymeric sand and joint sand products. And they've come up with a lot of new products over the years and tested them out. And a couple of them had some issues. And the problem with polymeric sand having an issue is it's the final step of a very important process. And there's no room for error, really. If you mess up the polymeric sand, it's just going to show on your patio forever. It's just going to show that you didn't do it properly. And when you spend all the money and invest into a beautiful patio, the last thing you want is an issue with the joint sand. So if you're watching this video because you're doing your own paver walkway or a paver patio and you're trying to research how to do polymeric sand so you don't ruin your own project, definitely watch this video. I'm going to take you through all the correct steps of going about polymeric sand install, and I'm going to also walk you through the things you shouldn't do, things you should watch out for. I've been doing nothing but hardscaping for the past 6 years, and I did a lot of hardscaping and landscape construction mix for about 4 or 5 years before that. So I've been dealing with pavers a lot in the past 10 or so years, and I've picked up a lot of tricks just from trial and error, from stories of other contractors, etc. I've seen it all. I've heard all the problems that could possibly go wrong with polymeric sand, and I'm going to share as much of that knowledge as I can with you in this video. And a little context into this video is we've installed this patio in 2023, and this video of the polymeric sand was done this past spring in April 2024. So we had to go back to this project because it got too cold later on in the year of 2023, and that's one of the things you don't want to do. You can't do polymeric sand when there's going to be freezing or nights that get below freezing multiple times in a row after you do it, because the cold temperatures are going to prevent the polymeric sand from setting properly.
Poly sand is very expensive. You can save some money by not getting black. You end up probably saving 10-15 bucks a bag, honestly, at the end of the day, which is why a lot of contractors do it.
Oh my gosh.
Got it. Oh, that's dirty. Because at the end of the day, World's all about the bottom line. I don't like to be about that. I like to be about quality. And something little like that makes a big difference in my opinion. But you're gonna typically get 80 to 120 square feet per bag, and that really depends on the paver size, the joint size. It can really vary. But what I've found with this combination, with these Genest pavers, you can see the joints are wavy and kind of natural like, so the corners end up being a big void, and they're smaller than like the pavers I use also, which are the Blue 60 by Nicolock. They're smaller, so you have more joint lines. So we get about 80 square feet per bag with this kind of paver. A Blue 60, you're probably going to get more towards the 100 square feet, maybe even a little bit more. And this border takes up a lot too, doesn't it? But man, I don't know, dude. I always have a tough time figuring out if I like this better or Blue 60. I think they're both just completely different looks, you know? This one looks way more natural. Another thing I try to do when I poly sand is just do a section at a time. So I'm gonna take all these bags right here and go out as far as they go. I'll probably compact that and then sweep through it again, blow it off. And then once you do that, you're all set. You're not gonna have to worry about, you know, a sudden rainstorm coming and ruining the pavers. If that were to happen, at least you'd be able to save everything that you had did before. Whereas if I were to just try to poly sand everything one time and then sweep through it all again at the end, it's just, I don't know, it's just tougher to deal with, and it almost pulls away your motivation. Getting a section done at a time, knowing you don't have to go back, feels good, I think, in my opinion. But even like this little landing, I already compacted it, and that was my second time going through it. So now I'm gonna blow it off, and I know I'm gonna be all set on that landing. Corners are always the hardest to blow out, like up against a wall or something like this. That looks good though. Alright, so from that corner to the edge of this landing. I got like a big square done from here to there. I'm gonna compact that, sweep through it again, blow it off, and then that's a big section ready to go, ready for water. Got this compactor from this company, Evolution. Stick is still holding on strong, but it's just a small compactor for like a trench, or you know, homeowners doing little projects for themselves. It's not a commercial grade compactor by any means, but they did send me a nice rubber pad for it when they sent me the compactor, and this thing weighs 86 pounds. So that with the pad, it's a perfect size compactor for doing poly sand. I'm not a big fan of using a heavy plate compactor, even with a mat on the pavers, because you have a higher risk of cracking them as you go. And there's nothing more annoying than having to replace a cracked paver while you're poly sanding. So the size of this is perfect. I used it on a couple patios already. I used it on a paver, the paver T-pad. If you watch that video, worked excellent. So I'm pretty thrilled about it for sure. It's not something I would want to use for my base prep all the time, but for doing polymeric sand, perfect. Absolutely perfect for that. And perfect for this. Don't have to call Ben over to help me with the compactor. I can literally carry it like I'm carrying a bag of concrete. So another big thing when plate compacting the pavers, you want to stay away from the edges. You can get close but not go over it. You're going to risk pushing the concrete and pushing the pavers aside. So I'm just going to go around close to the edge, and then I'll use that tamper that my GoPro's on with the rubber bottom, and I'll tamp the edges a little bit softer so that we don't break any of the concrete edging. It's weird with this compactor. I think it's the way it's designed. I mentioned it in one of my videos with it. But if you just leave it back like this and try to use it like a regular compactor, it doesn't really propel forward very much. But you can see this hook right here pushes on that, and what it does is it lifts the back of it up a little bit and helps propel it. So that's the trick with this thing.
Okay, so I just want to go over the basics real quick. Rule number 1 with polymeric sand: your pavers need to be completely dry before you apply it. Any damp spots or wet spots, you can cause stains that are very difficult and sometimes impossible to remove. So dry, dry, dry. Your pavers need to be dry. And then, as I already mentioned, we sweep through the joints, fill them up, clean them up pretty decent, and then we compact using a small compactor with a mat like I am, or a hand tamper with a metal hand tamper with like a mat underneath it that you can move around. Or I'm going to show you a little bit later in this video a rubber bottom tamper that you can just hand tamp all the pavers. Whatever method you choose, you need to compact the pavers so the sand settles into the joints. And then we're going to fill up the joints by sweeping through the pavers one more time. And once we sweep through it that second time, we're going to blow off any extra dust particles, and once those are all clean, then we're going to wet everything down with a hose.
So you can really see how well that settled that into the joint. So now this whole section right here is good for the second application. And I always say it in the poly sand videos, when you go through your second round, you want to do it with a fresh bag. You don't want to be taking stuff that you've already been sweeping, because a lot of the polymer dust has been messed around with. So when you dump a fresh bag, you get all that fresh polymer dust to get the top coating, and that's what really helps lock it in nice. Starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel, bud?
Yeah.
I'm starting to see the lower back tattoo possibilities on you, dude. It's a little trowel tattoo, dude.
That's it. Like a cross round.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Listen, if you're not having fun on the job site, what are you doing really? So this is the tamper I was talking about. It's not a rubber, it's not plastic, some kind of mix in between, but perfect for doing the edges. But you really need to make sure you compact the poly sand, because if not, it's gonna settle. You see, this is what I was talking about. Those are all the polymer dust, and when you sweep through a bag a lot, that stuff will just kind of disappear. So if you swept through an area and left a pile, you don't want to use that on the top coat. Just keep sweeping it so that it's on the bottom of the joints. Fresh bag is what you want on the top of the joints. As much as possible, you want to go at a 45-degree angle against the joints. You don't want to sweep down the joint because it'll kind of pull it out. You want to sweep over and across it. And you want to just let the weight of the broom do it. You don't want to push too hard.
So you want to get the sand just slightly below the top of the paver, but not too low. With the joints being lower than the paver, that's what the water runs down when it's actually shedding off of your patio. It's not really technically going over the pavers unless it's a torrential rain, but those joints are meant to have water flow, so you want it just below the top of the paver.
Remember Ryan's patio, dude? Built the same fire pit, but wood burning. Guy commented on the YouTube short of it. He's like, wow, dumbasses. Why spend so much money on something stupid? You just put a metal ring there. Like, yeah, you spend thousands of dollars on a patio and slap a truck rim on the
Yeah, dude. Get it rust all over the freaking place. No, why my pavers turn orange?
It's like people literally watch videos just so they can find something to like be negative about.
Makes them feel good.
It does. Alright, that entire section is done. Ready for water. It's good doing it like that, dude, because you and I both know, man, there's some horror stories around poly sand.
Good doing it like what?
Like in the middle of doing poly sand, if you don't like do it section by section, a stray shower comes.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Somebody blows a bottle of water, a Gatorade up on it.
Dude, today's the day for a straight shower, too. It just feels like...
Yeah, all the
it could
clouds
rain
and
for-
stuff
Rain for like 5 minutes.
could come at any moment, dude. Anything could happen. Step on, someone comes behind you, steps on it with their wet feet.
Oh, yeah.
You never know. If you've been in the hardscape industry for any amount of time, I'm sure you've heard some horror stories. So that's kind of a reason why I do that. Do it.
Red Bull.
Drop the Red Bull, yep. There's always that risk, but if you can minimize it, that's the best way. So this whole section, swept in, compacted, swept again, blown down. And that's how you want it. Slightly below the top of the paver. You don't want to come right up to the top. Surface water drains down through the joints, not technically over the pavers. So when you keep the poly sand slightly recessed below the top, those are the channels that all the surface water is going to drain down and find its way off your patio. Dude, you're done, huh? Time to sweep in with me?
Yep.
I think I'm gonna have you start on the other end and we'll work towards each other.
You do this part last.
I'm gonna wrap down here and then
you're
go
gonna
that
come back
way.
this way.
If you go start on the walkway at the end, come this way. I think that's the best bet. That way we're not in each other's way.
Alright.
And that walkway, I think, is a better idea to just hand tamp it. So
Right.
do a bag, tamp the area that the bag made, open the next bag and sweep through it, you know. And then we'll just meet over here in the middle.
Sounds good.
Cool. All right, that's it. On to the last part, watering it down. Took 13 bags, dude. What's the math on that? 13 times 80. That'd be 800.
240.
Yeah, so 1040. That's about right. That's that 80 square foot mark's about right, because this is like 1,000 square foot patio, so probably between 80 90 square feet per bag. 13 times 50 is what, $750 worth of poly sand. How we doing? This broom right here It's my favorite poly broom. I've had this thing for like 3 years now, and it's broken in just right. All right, so rule of thumb with washing it down, you want to start in your lowest point, and when you go through your first spray down, you go somewhat lightly to get the sand to settle, and then you're going to go through again to water it a little bit heavier. So with this patio, right about here past Ben, we have a break, and that break makes the water go that way and then this way. So this walkway sloped towards the road and towards the grass, landings slope towards the grass, and from here on is sloped that way and down. So we'll probably start over here, dude. We'll save the walkway for last. Ready for some hose management?
Hose management.
Can't let it drag. Water on?
There's not.
Alright. Just kind of hold the tension on it as I go there. That's good right there. That should be enough. All right, shower attachment. That's what we're looking for. It's the lowest point. Reason you start at the lowest point is if you start up top and then the water starts rushing down. The water starts rushing down the joints, it can wipe out and wash away all the dry sand. I get a lot of questions, bud, about whether or not I seal the pavers. I'm not interested in doing that, bro.
Not really necessary.
Nope.
Not worth it either.
Well, you got to do it all the time, man. Every couple years you could completely ruin the pavers if you do it wrong, or if you do it and then, like, just like poly sand, a shower comes, dude, seal a patio and then rain comes, oh boy, then you got to strip an entire patio of the sealer. It'd be one thing if you could do it like once and you're good for frickin' 10 years, but that's not the case.
Just buy them pre-sealed.
You can.
If I was gonna have that done, that's what I'd do.
They have pavers that they call them wet set, or what the hell, like wet, I don't know, something like that. But they come pre-sealed, but they're much more expensive, obviously. So we've done this area once. That was a nice wash down. Now we're going to go through the whole thing again to make sure the entire joint from top to bottom gets saturated. Some people get really worried about overwatering this, and you can overwater it, but it's harder to do than underwatering it. If you underwater it, you only get the top part of the poly sand activated. So at that point, the top layer is fragile and it rips off. And if you've seen patios with poly sand that starts to peel up, that was the mistake. They didn't water it enough So only the top layer was activated, and after a couple seasons it just starts to fail and peel up and lift. So you need to make sure there's enough water to completely permeate through the entire joint and activate all the sand throughout. And the best way to tell that you've gotten enough down is you start seeing the water flow down the joints. It means it's already penetrated all the sand, and the sand's pushing the water up and out. I'll show you what I mean here. So you can see that water flowing down the joint there. That's what you're looking for. There's nothing worse than having to re-poly sand a patio. I'd rather pick a patio up and put a new one down, dude, than have to come in and rip all the poly out and do it again. Alright, this section's done, dude. Alright, so now we're gonna go to the end of the walkway and walk on the grass. Start down here at the end, work our way up. Hey, bud.
Hey.
Nice job, man. You tell these people goodbye.
Bye. Have fun.
Have fun.
Have a good day.
Alright, that's it, guys. That's how you polymeric sand a paver patio. Hope you enjoyed the video. You guys already know the deal. Till the next one. God bless. Peace.